Portfolio Committee will on Tuesday consider the impasse between IPID boss Robert McBride and Police Minister Bheki. This as McBride intends to haul Cele to court also on Tuesday to challenge Cele's decision not to renew his 5-year contract. McBride was in court to declare Cele's decision not to renew his contract invalid, unlawful and unconstitutional. He's arguing that the decision on whether to renew or not to renew his contract must be made by the Police Portfolio Committee. Our reporter Bulelani Phillip is the following story.
A warm welcome to our parliamentary studios. We will be shortly speaking to the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Police, Mr. Francois Bheki, on the impending case of IPID boss, Mr. Robert McBride. Mr. McBride has indicated that he intends to take Police Minister Bheki to court on Tuesday to make sure that he does not proceed with his decision not to renew his 5-year term contract. Of course, earlier last month, the police minister indicated that Mr. McBride's contract, which expires at the end of February, would not be renewed. And Mr. McBride, in turn, gave the police minister an ultimatum of him giving him reasons as to why the contract should not be renewed. Of course, Mr. McBride has now made sure that his ultimatum is carried through. He's going to the North Gauteng High Court on Tuesday. For more on this, we're talking to Mr. Francois Bheki. Mr. Bheki, thank you so much for joining us. The court case, before we go into it, Mr. McBride, before he went to court, he did indicate that he wants the intervention of Parliament. Your take on that?
Well, it's important to take note of Section 6 of the IPID Act in terms of the appointment process of the Executive Director. It's done by the Executive Authority at the Minister, and then it's confirmed by Parliament, the Portfolio Committee, and then there is a referral in the specific section with regard to the possible extension of that contract. Now, in this particular case, the Minister has written to the Speaker, and the Speaker has referred that matter to the Portfolio Committee on Police. From our perspective, we have evaluated the referral of the Speaker on Friday, and in terms of the rules, I have directed the committee staff to put that matter on the agenda of the Portfolio Committee on Tuesday morning, this coming Tuesday, as the second item. And of course, we will then process the matter in terms of the relevant rules and then come with a recommendation to the House after that process.
Just going forward, I'm sure you must be looking forward to resolving this impasse. Does it bother you that there is this ongoing squabbles between a police minister and Mr. McBride?
Well, it's important that there should be stability in independent institutions and also in terms of IPID and the Ministry of Police. But I think it's also quite clear, judging from the related issues you refer to, that there needs to also be a major overhaul of the IPID Act. Of course, that will have to be done by the incoming Parliament, the 6th Parliament. And in terms of the current issues before us, the Portfolio Committee will deal with the referral made by the Speaker, and we will also in the next week or so decide in terms of process, but also in terms of the timelines. Because the dilemma is that the current Parliament will wrap up its business on 20 March 2019. And of course, there's a lot of items on our agenda for the next 6 weeks, so we'll also have to schedule additional days to process the specific matter.
Of course, his contract was supposed to come to an end at the end of this month. Of course, now it's a rush against time. I'm sure you're hoping that this matter can be finalized before the end of this month.
Well, once again, the Portfolio Committee on Police must make sure that any referral that he receives from the Speaker is properly dealt with in terms of the rules, in terms of the Constitution, and also precedents. Our Parliament deals with matters like this. So I think it's going to be important that we do our work effectively, and we shouldn't, I think, be put in a time box. We must ensure that we execute our duties in line with the Constitution, and we must be properly informed of all the matters. So that's why the process is going to be very important. We will have to look at what is going to be the nature of the process, whether we will receive written, input with regard to the matter, oral submissions, what will be the nature of that, what documents will we need to evaluate the situation. So that is the issues that we will look at in the coming weeks.
All right, let's turn to the issue of the litigation now. You've obviously been cited as a respondent. What's going to be your position?
Well, once again, the Portfolio Committee on Police is a substructure of Parliament. So in terms of the normal process, the Speaker of the National Assembly is cited as respondents where there is litigation against Parliament. But be it as it may, the Portfolio Committee on Police, of course, will respond to the relevant issues that was put before us. But our opinion is, let's await then the outcome of the court case or the urgent application, or if there's settlement negotiations, let's await the outcome of that. But as from our perspective, what we have before us is a referral from the Speaker, and we will deal with that in terms of the relevant rules.
Now, without being presumptuous and putting you in a corner, one of the prayers of Mr. McBride in his court papers is around the issue of this Section 6 that you're speaking to, as to whether the minister has the authority to appoint, or rather to not renew or to renew the contract. Now, there seems to be some confusion or ambiguity in terms of the interpretation of that section. As the committee, shouldn't you be the people who lead the process of clarifying that particular ambiguity?
Well, if there's legal ambiguity, of course, that's up to the courts. But as we see it, it's a two-stage process. On the one hand, there is a role for the executive authority, the minister, but the second step is the confirmation by the committee of that decision.